Greetings, mortals! It is I, Remortis, and today I'm bringing another guide for Baldur's Gate 3. Going over the Master of Lightning and Thunder, the Tempest Cleric, Storm Sorcerer. This is a fun multi-class option that you can consider for your build. The Cleric combined with the Sorcerer can do some pretty fun tricks. Cleric being, one of the better support classes in the game, providing all sorts of spells from control to buffs to healing, as well as the Sorcerer's ability to manipulate their own spells in a variety of ways. Tempest Cleric amplifies lightning and thunder damage type spells, and gets access to some of those spells that they wouldn't normally have. The Storm Sorcerer Warlock will provide a little bit of flying, and also increase lightning and thunder damage. Just kind of goes hand in hand. In this video, I'll be doing a brief overview of the Cleric, and some of the Tempest Cleric features, and what it brings to this table. We'll touch up a little on how the Storm Sorcerer affects it as well. We're also going to do a level-by-level guide too. But fear not, there will be timestamps below so you can skip ahead to what you want to see. That being said, let's just get right into the build, shall we? The Cleric. Typically the backbone of any solid party, harnessing divine power granted to them by whatever god they serve. They'll typically have support and healing magics, but also have other ways to aid the party, or themselves. And they're quite tanky for a caster, as opposed to the Wizard and Sorcerer, who are notably a lot squishier, meaning they're easier to kill. And a unique thing about the Cleric is that they choose their domain, or their subclass, at level 1. And for the purposes of this video, we're going to be focusing on the Tempest Cleric specifically, but we'll get into that in a moment. At level 1, the Cleric provides 8 hit points plus your Constitution modifier, and then 5 hit points plus your Constitution modifier per level after 1. Clerics are proficient in light armor, medium armor, and shield, as well as all simple weapons. However, each cleric domain can alter this. A lot of them provide heavy armor and a lot provide martial. Just keep an eye out for that when you're selecting your domain. Something to consider. And another thing to point out with that is proficiencies you gain from choosing your domain will apply no matter what level you pick your cleric. An example would be if you were to be a level 2 fighter, you would not be able to get access to heavy armor unless you started as a fighter. Anyhow, let's continue. For saving throws, they have Wisdom and Charisma, which will provide a little bit of extra protection against nasty crowd control type abilities. Wisdom being mind-altering abilities, such as mind control or paralyzation, and Charisma is a test against your force of personality. And at level 1, clerics also get the ability to cast spells, in the way of cantrips and spell slots. However, clerics are prepared casters, meaning that no matter what spell you pick, you can change it anytime you rest, unlike the Wizard or the Sorcerer who have to change them on level ups or learn them through other means. And you will always have any cleric spell prepared. You just gotta choose which ones you're using that specific day. The Tempest domain, at level 1, you'll be gaining proficiency with martial weapons and heavy armor. And then you also get an ability called Wrath of the Storm. Whenever a creature within 5 feet of you that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to have a chance to deal 2d8 lightning damage, or thunder, your choice, on a failed saving throw, or half as much as a successful one. So no matter what, if somebody hits you in melee range, you'll zap them for a little bit, and you can use this a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier. At level 2, clerics gain the ability to channel a divinity. You'll start with 2 effects, such as Turn Undead, which all clerics get, and then another effect determined by your domain. Turn Undead is a very iconic cleric ability which will make all undead in an area run away from you, similar to the Fear condition. And as for the Tempest Cleric, at level 2, you'll get Channel Divinity, Destructive Wrath. When rolling lightning or thunder damage, you can use your Channel Divinity to automatically deal maximum damage instead of rolling, which is quite powerful. At level 3, clerics do not gain any features, however they get access to second level spells, and there's some pretty good selections here, such as Hold Person, Lesser Restoration, Prayer of Healing, Spiritual Weapon, Silence, and a few others. At level 4, you'll get your ability score improvement, or you can choose a feat. At level 5, you'll get the ability called Destroy Undead. Starting at 5th level, when an undead fails a saving throw against your Turn Undead feature, the creature is destroyed instantly if it's a lot lower level than you. Also at level 5, the cleric will gain access to 3rd level spells. A lot of really good abilities here, such as Animate Dead, Dispel Magic, Mass Healing Word, Revivify, and the notorious Spirit Guardians. This is the cleric spell. It's an AoE ability that can deal radiant or necrotic damage of your choice in Baldur's Gate 3. Any creature that first enters that area will take damage, or if it starts their turn there, which is pretty sweet. because you can take this on the go as it's an aura around you. Say you manage to free yourself from the enemies nearby and you see a clump of 3 enemies over in the distance, you can run over there and jump into them and they will immediately take damage as they get into your aura. It's a pretty sweet ability. At level 6, the Tempest Cleric will be able to get the ability called Thunderous Strike. When you deal lightning damage to a large creature or smaller, you can also push it up to 10 feet away from you. Combine this with Thunder Wave, and you'll be able to just yeet people much further than normal. I expect a lot of really fun footage from this ability. Level 6, you also get the ability to use your Channel Divinity twice. And at level 8, you'll gain another ASI or another feat. The Tempest Cleric will get access to Divine Strike. You gain the ability to infuse your weapon with a Holy Strike, more or less. Similar to a Smite, but not quite as powerful as that. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause them to take an extra 1d8 thunder damage to the target. At level 10, I'm curious to see how Larian Studios implemented this, but at level 10 you'll get Divine Intervention, which you can use to implore your deity asking for aid. This is usually DM specific, as each one will run it differently. So I'm really curious to see how it's going to work in Baldur's Gate 3. As for the Sorcerer, it will provide us a lot of really unique abilities in terms of their meta magics. One particular one that we're going to run is Transmute Magic, which will let us change the damage type of our spells, preferably towards Lightning or Thunder, to combine that with Destructive Wrath. But sadly, that meta magic wasn't introduced until Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which probably won't make it into the launch since Baldur's Gate 3 is trying to focus mostly on the player's handbook. So our two options here will have to be Quicken Magic and Twin Spell. And, you know, as mentioned before, the Storm Sorcerer will give us access to a little bit of flying and also do a little extra damage with our Lightning and Sorcery. I do want to mention, though, that the Storm Sorcerer doesn't really offer too much to this build, as this build will function just as good as any other Sorcerer, for that matter, but mostly because of flavor reasons, and that Storm doesn't really have any other really cool options for multiclassing. This is what I'm going to go with for now. So one thing to note, while we might not have access to the Transmute meta magic, we can still figure out ways to amplify our lightning and thunder damage in the way of surface effects. Since this is a Larian game, they're very fond of surface effects, such as making a floor wet and having water everywhere will enhance the damage of lightning-based abilities, as shown right here. This can make up for the fact that we can't turn all of our spells into lightning, and we can still at least do double damage with the ones we have. And they'll be maximized on top of that if you use your Channel Divinity. Just, you know, some food for thought. For racial options, you can be any race you like for this build. None of them have advantages over the others here. Maybe a little bit, but pick what you like on the end. I haven't picked any dwarves yet for my build, so I'll be doing that for this one. And as for stats, it all depends if Larian is having us use strength stat requirements for heavy armor. In the case that they are, and for balanced stats, we'll go with a 15 strength, 10 dexterity, 14 constitution, 16 wisdom, or 10 charisma, if we're leaning towards the cleric side of things. If we're leaning for sorcerer, we'll have a 16 charisma and a 10 wisdom instead. But of course, obviously you can alter your stats as you see fit. It's your game, not mine. Don't let some guy on the internet tell you how to do things. These are just some of my suggestions is all. Pretty easy enough. Let's move on to the first build, which is probably the most common version of this Tempest Cleric and Storm Sorcerer build, but it's also assuming that Transmute meta magic is in the game, so keep in mind, it probably won't be there. Nonetheless, but our starting class, we're going to be a Storm Sorcery Wizard, so just pretend this is a Storm Wizard. Don't mind the dragon scales. For cantrips, we'll go ahead and pick Shocking Grasp, and just whatever else you want to prefer. But I'm going to pick up Shocking Grasp, Firebolt. I'm going to pick up Shocking Grasp, Friends, Firebolt, and Minor Illusion. As for leveled spells, that's where things can get a little interesting. You can pick Thunderwave at level 1 as your Sorcerer, but we're also going to get that at level 1 with our Cleric, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. I'm actually going to pick these two default spells here, Chromatic Orb and Witch Bolt. And we'll get more into that later. And then, at level 2, we're going to head and pick up our Tempest Cleric. Now obviously this is early access footage, so just pretend that one of these is Tempest. You can pick whatever deity you want at the end of the day, but I personally am a big fan of Talos. My actual favorite storm-based deity is Umberlee, but I don't think she's going to be in the main game. Let me double check. Yeah, she doesn't look like she's in it just yet. Maybe she'll be in the launch, who knows. But we'll just pick Talos for now. And then for cantrips, pick up Guidance, Sacred Light, and Resistance is okay. So is Thaumaturgy, if you want that. But we're already going to pick up Friends, so maybe Thaumaturgy isn't completely necessary. But that's only for Intimidation and Performance checks. Guidance, on the other hand, is a really amazing ability, which will provide a 1 to 4 increase to your ability checks. This is probably a must-have throughout any playthrough. And there's a few other ways to get Guidance other than just being a Cleric. There are some items that will give that to you in the early game. Keep a hold of those. And as for leveled spells, I'm a big fan of Guiding Bolt. But as a Tempest and Storm sorcery, we may actually want to pick up Create or Destroy Water, which will allow us to call forth rain, which, if you've played Divinity Original Sin 2, you can know how destructive making your battlefield wet before you electrocute it. Some other good spells to pick at level 1 would be Guiding Bolt, which does pretty solid damage and also will grant advantage to the next person that attacks that target. And I also like picking up Healing Word. You could also pick up Cure Wounds if you want, but I think Healing Word is a little better because it uses a bonus action. And healing in this game is a little bit different than in other video games, as it's generally better to heal somebody after they fall down to 0. That is a little risky because the next hit, if somebody's already downed and you hit them, there'll be an automatic critical hit. Usually the AI will still try to favor people that are still alive. But if there are no other viable targets, the AI will sure as shit attack your downed ally. So be careful with that. And the difference between a person with 100 hit points and 1 is negligible. They will still be able to function just the same. Now, if they fall to 0, then obviously they're knocked out and they have to try to struggle to survive through death saves. But a simple healing spell like Healing Word as a bonus action is probably a little bit better for your action economy than using a full heal or a full action heal. But that's neither here nor there. Healing Word is a solid choice. But you can pick Cure Wounds if you want that. Don't let me tell you not to. Another good option to pick would be Bless, as I'm currently selected on Life Domain. It automatically gets it, but that's neither here nor there. Bless is a pretty sweet spell. It'll give a attack bonus and saving throw bonus up to 3 allies, and then the more you upcast it, the more targets you can hit with it. Pretty good stuff. At level 3, we will pick up our second level of Cleric. This will give us our Channel Divinity options and allow us to use our Channel Divinity to make our next lightning or thunder damage do maximum damage. And this is going to be where things get a little bit interesting. We can't really utilize it too much just yet, but the fact that we can already use our level 1 combo, or a combo from our level 1 sorcerer spell, the Chromatic Orb, we can already maximize that damage to deal 24 thunder damage. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the Tempest Cleric for this particular build. We can keep moving on to Sorcerer, and we'll pick it at level 4, we'll pick up the second level of Sorcerer. No new changes really, other than we get sorcery points to regain spells or to turn spells into sorcery points, which is neat, I suppose. But at level 5 of our character, we will pick our third level of Sorcerer, which will give us access to meta magic, which we spend those sorcery points on. Now, my favorite meta magic is Quicken Spell, as you can turn a spell with a cast time of 1 action into a bonus action, which can be really cool, especially in Baldur's Gate, since we can cast 2 leveled spells together. So if you really wanted to, for example on a Sorcerer or Mage, you could Quicken Spell Fireball and follow it up with another Fireball. Pretty fun stuff. That being said, in Baldur's Gate 3, Quicken Magic now costs 3 sorcery points instead of 2, which may matter in the long run, but we can have ways to get around it, and I believe there's probably going to be some itemization to affect our sorcery points too. Just to keep that in mind. That being said, the other obvious choice for this multi-class build would be for the Transmute spell, so we can turn any spell's damage type into Thunder or Lightning. This means you can make a Lightning Ball or a Fireball become a Lightning Ball. And there's some other pretty neat tricks with that too. Another pretty sweet option is the Twin spell. That's another really good choice, as it will let you choose 2 targets instead of 1. But your spell has to be your spell's targeting has to only be a single target spell. Then you can hit 2 people with it, whether it be a CC spell or like a crowd control spell like hold Person, or a debuff, or a buff like haste or enlarge. So being a level 30 sorcerer, we get access to level 2 spells. Some pretty solid ones to pick would be Misty Step, Scorching Ray, Web, and a few others, but pick what you like. At level 6, we'll be picking up Sorcerer level 4. We can either choose to pick an ASI to increase our charisma or wisdom, or charisma, or we can choose a feat. There are a few feats that are pretty good in this build, one being the Warcaster, which is always really good on any character that casts spells. Or we can also look into getting the Meta Magic Adept, which will give us an extra Meta Magic. And then once we get to the next level, we'll be a level 5 sorcerer for a total level of 7 character levels. At level 5, we'll get access to 3rd level spells as a sorcerer, and some pretty solid ones are the notorious Fireball. You can pick up Lightning Bolt, we can pick up Slow, we can pick up Haste. There's a lot of really good choices. Pick what you want, because at the end of the day, it's your game, not mine. Counterspell is also a really good choice too. And then pretty much from here on out, you're just going to be a sorcerer and pick what you think is best for your sorcerer. This build isn't really too crazy in terms of the complexity, but the general strategy of this build will be to use your Channel Divinity to maximize your lightning or thunder damage with a variety of spells provided from the sorcerer. The other option for the build would be to invest more into Cleric, in which case you would probably focus more on Wisdom. And you can dip into Sorcery if you want, but keep in mind that your sorcerer level pretty much is going to increase your sorcery points. But I do believe there will be items that are going to increase our sorcery points, so that's also something to consider. I guess we'll see when the full game comes out. And both of these options are really solid choices. You can't go wrong with a Tempest Cleric if you want to be more of a damage-based cleric. But if you splash Wizard or Sorcerer in there, that's always good too, to give you a little more access to some more Lightning and Thunder spells. That's pretty much it for the Tempest Cleric Storm Sorcerer build until we get access to the full game and see all the changes and everything available to us. And until we get access to the Transmute Meta Magic, which we'll probably have to resort for a mod for that one. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this build. I apologize if it seems a bit short or if the sound quality isn't the best, as I'm currently getting ready to travel on a business trip, so I've had to move my setup around. My next video should be on the Bardlock multiclass, which I have a couple builds prepared for that one, so that'll be a longer video, don't worry. And if you enjoy watching guides like these, please like, comment, and subscribe for more. Feel free to let me know your thoughts or what builds I should do next. And by all means, tell me how wrong I am or how you'd rather do this build. Either way, I hope to see you on the next one. Farewell for now.